emergency services and the activities they do. And a number of agencies at time to time had gone to a range of economic models to consider their submissions to relevant governments into support of their activities. But there wasn't a body of research which really looked what was the most appropriate economic models for emergency services, and particularly rural fires in dealing with bushfires across Australia.
What we set out to do was to really map out the range of economic approaches and, working with industry, map those to the different decision and management needs that people have. And that's that frame where you say, I've got this question, what's helpful to use? I think one of the most interesting things that came out was casting forward to changing assets out there in the landscape. But you start to think, well, where are we shifting our assets there? So where there's settlement expanding into the rural-urban interface, that's obviously of huge implications. But things like transport infrastructure, scattered unconventional mining infrastructure, and renewable energy infrastructure, these are really quite different assets that are going to totally change the risk profile of a lot of parts of Australia. The economic approach to that would be to go, well, you've got a $100 million photovoltaic array and a small village. We've changed the nature of how we think about what we need to defend. That actually creates some dilemmas in terms of, do we go to the most expensive asset and save that, or do we, as we tend to do, put life and houses above everything else? And I think saving a life sometimes is absolutely economically irrational, but we should do it. So the hard point at the end is the dollars don't tell you what to do, but they can inform how you go about your business. I think the next phase is, and the David Panel's projects and others have headed in this way already, is to start doing some quite carefully constructed cases, which then take us to the next step of understanding some of the trade-offs, some of the benefit-cost sort of ratios that come out of different management strategies.
We did 2 different case studies in the project, one in South Australia and one in New Zealand, and they were slightly different in their objectives. But in both cases the common ground was that we were looking at strategies to try and reduce the probability of fire causing losses and weighing that up against the costs of implementing those practices. Some of the results we obtained were very clear cut. So for example, I think it's reasonably strongly the case that the prescribed burning